Steve Jobs, who's regarded as a pioneer in the field of technology, gave the commencement speech in the year 2005 to Stanford's graduating class, to an audience of around 20,000 people in Standford Stadium. This short speech drew lessons from his own life. Steve Jobs gave the following advice in his speech. You got to find what you love to do. The only way to do great work is to find what you love and keep searching until you find what you love doing. Though Steve Jobs' commencement speech had multiple lessons, the one that stood out was do what you love in life. Soon after, Stanford's official film video of the presentation became popular on YouTube, garnering over 3 million views after it was posted. The comments on these YouTube videos were as follows. Follow your passion. If you do not know your passion, you are losing out in life. Always do what you love and figure out what your passion is. Figure out what you are naturally good at. Life is too short to doing something that is not your passion, and so on. In other words, many of the million people who saw the YouTube video were ecstatic to see their guru Steve Jobs, who is a pioneer of unconventional thinking, approve of a popular job advice known as the passion hypothesis. The passion hypothesis says that first we need to find out our passion and then create a career around our passion so that our life can be fulfilling and successful. You will find 1,000 of bloggers, professional speakers, gurus talking about the passion hypothesis, that if you follow your passion, you will never have to work any day in your life. I was reading the book Be So Good That They Cannot Ignore You, where the author shares some interesting insights on the topic of passion. When you look past the feel-good slogans and go deeper into the details of how passionate people like Steve Jobs really got started, or ask scientists about what actually predicts workplace happiness, the issue becomes much more complicated. So the author in the book says that even though Steve Jobs is preaching passion hypothesis, this is not what his life looks like. That means he in itself didn't follow his passion. And for understanding that, we need to look at his early life. So let's begin understanding the early life of Steve Jobs and how he started Apple Computer. Stay till the end because the story in itself of Steve Jobs is very interesting and will put up questions in your mind about skills, about passion, and about workplace happiness. Steve Jobs attended Reed College in Oregon, grew his hair long, and began walking barefoot. Unlike technology visionaries of his generation, Steve Jobs particularly was not interested in business or electronics as a student. Instead, he studied Western history and dance. Jobs dropped out of college after his first year, but he lived on campus for a while, sleeping on the floor and scrouching free food at nearby Hare Krishna temple. His non-conformity made him a campus celebrity. Steve Jobs eventually got tired of being a pauper and returned home to California in the early 1970s, where he moved back in with his parents and joined a night shift job at Atari. He once took a month off from Atari to go on to a spiritual trek through India. When he returned, he began to train actively at the neighboring Los Angeles Zen Center. After Jobs returned from India in 1974, a local engineer and entrepreneur named Alex Kamrath founded Colin Computer, a computer time-sharing company. Now, another co-founder of Apple Computer, Steve Wozniak, gets introduced into the life of Steve Jobs here. Kamrath approached Steve Wozniak about creating a terminal device that he might sell to clients to access his central computer. Wozniak was a true electronic genius, obsessed with technology and studied it properly in college. But Wozniak hated business, so he delegated the details of the deal to Steve Jobs, a longtime buddy. Everything was going swimmingly until the autumn of 1975, when Steve Jobs went for a seasonal visit without notifying Kamrath of his departure. He had been replaced when he returned. The author here says that anyone who would leave his job without informing his manager is definitely not passionate about technology or entrepreneurship. As said by the author in the book, before the launch of his visionary firm, Steve Jobs was a troubled young man, speaking spiritual enlightenment while dabbling with electronics only when it promised quick cash. He noted how delighted the local wireheads were about the debut of model kit computers that fans could assemble at home. Jobs proposed to Wozniak that they design one of these kit computer circuit boards and sell it to local amateurs. Originally, the goal was to create the board for $25 each and sell them for $50. Steve Jobs hoped to sell 100 in total, which, after deducting the cost of printing the board and a $1,500 charge for the initial board design, would result in a $1,000 profit. Neither Steve Wozniak nor Jobs left their normal jobs. This was a low-risk side project done in their spare time. Steve came barefoot at Mountain View Computer Store, the Byte shop, and offered Terrell the circuit boards for sale. Terrell refused to sell unassembled boards but stated that he would buy a completely assembled system. He was willing to pay $500 for each, but he needed 50 pieces as soon as possible. Steve Jobs jumped at this opportunity to make even more money and began scrapping together startup funds. Apple Computer was born at this moment. And this is what the author in the book, Be So Good That No One Can Ignore You, says, that Apple Computers was not born out of passion. It was born out of opportunities that Steve Jobs saw in the market. The author also says that eventually Steve Jobs became passionate about what he was doing and he started loving his job, but that is not how he began his career. That is not how Apple Computers started. It was through a small break that just took off due to the opportunities that were coming into the market. So then the author in the book asks, what is more important, skills, money, mindset, opportunities, or passion? The author concludes that even though we cannot say which is more important, we can definitely conclude through the life of Steve Jobs that passion is not something that he's wanting to advise in his Standford commencement speech. The author says that he doesn't know what is more important, but all he knows is that passion is not a helpful advice to give to anyone. This book has a lot of insights on skill versus passion, but the author clearly concludes that skills are what triumph passion. So before you find meaning or joy in your life, you need to be good at something. You need to be skilled at something before finding joy into your job. The author advises towards the end, don't follow your passion. Rather, let it follow in your drive to become, in the words of my favorite Steve Martin quotation, so good that they can't ignore you. Follow your passion is something that has been told by a lot of people, but passion is not something that has started great companies or made great success in others' life. So then, before following your passion, ask yourself, is this what you're interested in doing? Is this where your skills lie? And is this what the market would be willing to pay you for? I hope you like the contents of the video, and if you do, please do hit like, share, subscribe and comment. So then I would understand that you could relate to Steve Jobs' story, and please do put in the comment section as to what you feel is more important, passion or skills. And share your own experiences as to when you have followed your passion or when you have followed your skills and how you have seen success in following both. Thank you.